The World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship is getting closer and everybody's talking about speed puzzling. I'm just fascinated by these puzzlers who can do a 500-piece puzzle in about 30 minutes or so. And I would love to try one of these events, but I'm just an average puzzler and I am nowhere near those impressive times. So, can an average puzzler like myself delve into the world of speed puzzling? Well, let's find out. Hi, I'm Sandra from the Puzzling Canadian and welcome to my channel. With the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship getting closer, everybody's preparing for that speed puzzling event, but I am not one of them. I'm just an average puzzler who casually puzzles, but I am intrigued by the world of speed puzzling and would like to give it a go. However, many times I'm reluctant to do so for many different reasons. I know my times are not impressive. I'll probably be at the bottom of the pack. I'll probably feel embarrassed. If it's going to be a hard puzzle, will I struggle with it? So those are some of the doubts that are going through my mind. However, I put those doubts aside and I have now registered for my first event here in Canada. The in-person event that I registered for is called the Great Canadian Puzzle Challenge, and it is organized by a group called the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association. And you can find them on Facebook. They're a Facebook group. And they did this in partnership with Puzzles Canada. And it's going to be held in October in Georgetown, Ontario. So I'll give you a little bit more details about this event a little later on in my video. My goal with registering for this event is not to be competitive, even though I will do my best to compete, but I know I'm not going to be in the top 5. So I'm just realistic. But my goals for doing this event is for number 1, to improve my current time. Also, so that I can learn new ways to puzzle and at the same time just have fun with all these other puzzlers that are going to this event. In order to prepare for this event, I started to pull out some puzzles that are 500 pieces so I could begin practicing. And what I wanted to do is to establish like a baseline, like an average time. I do know that more or less I can do a 500-piece puzzle anywhere between 2 hours to maybe 3 hours, depending on how difficult the image is and what brand I'm puzzling. So I pulled out these puzzles, recorded the time so I can have an average starting point, and then this way I can then work on things to improve. So let's take a look at which puzzles I practiced with, and then after I'm going to let you know what challenges I'm going to be facing as a person, as an average puzzler trying to move into the world of speed puzzling. So the first puzzle I began practicing with is a White Mountain puzzle called Classic Signs, 500 pieces. It's a ribbon cut. And I began sorting. That's the first strategy I tried, is to sorting into groups, simply because in this puzzle I saw that there was a lot of blues, yellows, greens, and reds. So I thought that would be a good place to start. And I did, of course, the border first. It's what I naturally do. And then I started to put the puzzle together based on those colors. Now, it's a collage puzzle, so that's why I picked this one first, because collages are nice and easy for me. And White Mountain is my favorite brand. The pieces are larger. So I thought this would be a good place to start to see what time I can get for a 500-piece puzzle. And I was very happy with the time I got. I've never got a time so low, and ended up being 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 25 seconds. So I was really happy with this time. So the next puzzle I worked on was a Gibson's puzzle called A Ride with Mum, 500 pieces. And with this puzzle, I tried a different strategy, which is dump all the pieces out in front of me and start flipping them over and pulling out the edge pieces and just keeping that chaos around me. However, it was starting to stress me out and make me nervous. And as you can see, I started to move pieces out of the way because I wanted my space. So I don't know if that slowed me down in the beginning. I ended up doing the border. I started from the top. And then I started to get stuck with the greenery. I had to go back and look for the green pieces because I obviously didn't sort them. So I don't know if that slowed me down for this puzzle. And then the last section that I left with this one was the horses and the road. I thought that would be actually the first one, but I was struggling and I couldn't figure that out. So that ended up being at the very end. And my time for this one was not impressive, not at all. 2 hours, 54 minutes, and 10 seconds. So I was quite surprised that it took me that long for this one. So I worked on this puzzle next, which is a jackaroo puzzle called Barbapapa, 500 pieces, also ribbon cut. And I went back to my first strategy, which is let's separate the pieces into colors. And it was easy to do because there's a lot of pinks, blues, and greens. So I began working on the very colorful section of the puzzle, which is the left-hand side. And there's pinks. It was the evident color or the prominent color, so I worked on that. But this puzzle was not as easy as I thought. You figured that there's a lot of color that it would be easy, but there were a lot of colors that were very similar. And as you can see, once I got to that section right there, which is the right section, there was nothing but blues and greens. And boy, did this frustrate me and took me way longer than I anticipated. My time ended up being 3 hours, 47 minutes, and 33 seconds, which was way worse than the previous two puzzles. I don't know what happened there, but this one was hard. So with my last puzzle, I decided to go back to the dump and flip strategy. As you can see there, I flipped everything over on a separate board, moved it to the side, and then I started to work on the border. This puzzle here is called Eurographics Knittin' Kittens, 500 pieces, also ribbon cut. And one thing I didn't mention with the other puzzles is I ended up stopping the timer. So many times I didn't do the puzzle in one complete sitting because I had to be pulled away. I had to do some other things. So most of these puzzles were not done all in one sitting. I stopped the clock and then came back to it. So this one I started working on the bottom half where all the yarn was because it was very colorful and the flowers. And then I started from the top, and then what was left was the fur from the kittens. And this part is what took me a little bit longer. I know that a lot of puzzlers say that putting together the fur is a frustrating part because it's a very difficult, very challenging section of a puzzle. But the time for this one wasn't too bad. It was 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 28 seconds. And this is the average time that I take to complete a puzzle. As you can see, there's a wide range of times for the puzzles that I completed, and it all is dependent on the image. But image is not the only obstacle for me. So through this exercise, I was able to identify at least 3 challenges that I'll be facing when I want to move into the world of speed puzzling. So the first challenge I face is the space. When you're doing speed puzzling, you're limited to the amount of space. When I puzzle on a day-to-day basis, I puzzle upstairs in my dining room, and my dining room table is fairly big. It can fit up to a 4,000 piece puzzle comfortably. The event that I'm going to has tables that are 6 feet by 3 feet, which is a fairly good sized table for a puzzling event. However, when you're doing an individual competition, 2 people are going to be at the table. That means you get half the space, and now it's much smaller. So that, I think, is going to be my first obstacle. So one of my biggest challenges I think I'm going to have with speed puzzling is the concept of chaos puzzling. If you take a look at some of my previous videos, you will see that I'm a very organized puzzler. I need to sort my pieces, then laying out all my pieces on board so I can see them. Even when I did my 4,000 piece puzzle, I had every single piece laid out on a board so I can see it. Speed puzzling is not at all like that. You just have no time. You got to dump those pieces in the table and go at it right away. This will be my biggest challenge. I will need to train my brain. And so that's part of my goal, is to train my brain to puzzle in a different way. This is the different way of puzzling for me because I'm just not used to it. So that's challenge number 2. So the third challenge that I'm facing is completing the puzzle all in one sitting. So because I'm a very casual puzzler, I rarely complete a puzzle in one sitting unless it's a very small piece count, like 300 pieces or less. But normally I take breaks throughout the day, throughout the week to complete a puzzle. At the most, I puzzle is about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but usually it's about an hour. And then I start to feel tired. My brain kind of gets stuck and I take a break and do something else. Speed puzzling, you have one sitting to finish it. So anywhere from an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours, depending on what the event is. So those are some of the obstacles that I predict are going to slow me down with speed puzzling or hinder me from getting a better time in speed puzzling. And those are the areas that I'm going to have to start to work on or prepare and practice over the next few weeks. And If you haven't already done so, kindly subscribe to my channel and you can see how I'm progressing over the next few weeks. And hopefully by the time we get to the event, I will be able to do some filming at the event and share with you my experience there. I'm going to share with you now a little bit more information about the Great Canadian Puzzle Challenge. The event is held on Sunday, October the 1st in Georgetown, Ontario, and there's going to be 3 events held throughout the day. So there's going to be a individual challenge, a pairs, and a team event. So as of the date of recording this, which is now mid-August, the pairs competition is sold out. And today I just looked at their Facebook group and they announced that the teams is quickly selling out. There's only a few more spots for teams. So if you're interested, you need to grab those tickets very soon. The individual will do a 500-piece puzzle, the individual competition, and it's going to be for 2.5 hours, and the cost is $30 to enter. The pairs will be a 500-piece puzzle. You will have 2 hours to complete it. It costs $35, but now that category is sold out. The teams will do a 500-piece puzzle for 1.5 hours to complete, and to enter your team, it will cost you $50. And those dollar figures, of course, are in Canadian funds. They will then have a championship round where they will take the top 20 finishers in the individual round and they will do another puzzle to see who's on top, who's number 1. So the event that I registered for the Great Canadian Puzzle Challenge is the team event. I didn't want to do the individual challenge simply because I know that I'm not at that level yet to compete individually, and I just felt that it was just going to drain me. But I did want to do a team event because I feel like it's going to be more fun if you do it with a group of other puzzlers. But I didn't have a team established. So I went to my local Facebook group, put a post up there, said, hey, anybody wants to participate in this event? I want to create a team. And I clearly told them that I am not a fast puzzler. I'm just a casual puzzler. I take about 2 to 2.5 hours to complete a puzzle. So there's no pressure. I'm just going there to have a good time and try to do my very best. And I quickly got other puzzlers who wanted to join. So I have a team. I'm practicing individually right now for myself, but we will be getting together to practice. So I'd love to know if you've participated in a speed puzzling event. And if you have, what tips and advice do you have for me? If you could leave that in the comments, that would be great. Or maybe are you one of those puzzlers who have thought about it, but just haven't taken the leap forward into speed puzzling? What is holding you back? Thank you for taking the time and stopping by my channel as we delve into the world of speed puzzling. I know in about a month from now, we're going to be watching the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship, and I can't wait to watch that event, perhaps get some tips. It's always fascinating to see how quickly they go through it. It's just remarkable. So I think I need to get back to maybe practicing for my event in October. So until next time, happy puzzling.